What inspired me was my father, and I think I was in 7th or 8th grade the first time I took my own cycle and I went to sell small boxes of pickles to the stores nearby me. Although the first 3-4 days didn't actually sell anything because everyone was like making fun of me. But eventually I showed up 5 days, 6 days, 7 days on the same store, and eventually that person felt pity on me. I don't know what he bought from me.
Good morning, good evening, good day, listeners, from wherever you're joining from. This is the 4th episode of 4 back-to-back episodes on Inspire Someone Today. 4 episodes celebrating the first year anniversary of Inspire Someone Today and also celebrating the 100,000 download milestone of Inspire Someone Today. Joining me today is a very special guest. He's a young entrepreneur, already called as a rising star, who wants to go with as a marketer by profession and entrepreneur by heart. It's my honor and absolute joy to welcome Pratik Thakker on this special episode of Inspire Someone Today. Pratik, thanks for joining us from Israel.
Thank you so much, Rika. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So Pratik, you call yourself as Israel's tech ambassador. Why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself, your background, and what is this role all about?
So it's a quite interesting story. So I actually didn't thought that I'll be promoting Israeli technology in India or APAC region, but eventually I started doing it and it came through my LinkedIn posting, and then I was doing some posts about Israel, and all of a sudden I started to get clients and stuff. So I started to promote Israeli tech companies in India. So I used to help them with legalities, business development, sales development, and actually making connection with Indian brands. And that's how I became Israeli tech ambassador to India.
Nice. And your journey itself, wonderful, is remarkable. It reminds me of the old Hindi movie called as Love in Tokyo. Yours is Love in Israel. So walk us through your journey.
So it starts way back when I was 16. It was 11th standard. I was in college, first year. I was a computer science student. During that time, I was studying in Andheri College in Mumbai, and I met my wife in other college where there was a college festival. So we went to visit their college, and I met her. It was my first love at first sight kind of love story. And we started dating, and I didn't knew that she was Jewish. After 3 years, I knew that she's Jewish and her roots are from Israel. I didn't even knew that Israel existed that time. So it was quite surprising because my wife's name is Nancy. So I thought that she might be Christian. So that's how my Israeli journey started once I started dating her. So we dated for a while, I think for 7 years before we been together. And after like 7 years, we got married, and my wife was working in El Al Airlines, which is an Israeli airlines. So she was working in Mumbai airport, and she used to travel to Israel a lot for security purposes, trainings and stuff. And she loved it. She used to really share great stories about Israel. And that made me feel that I really want to be here. And that's where I belong, I feel. So we moved to Israel. After like moving here, I was like really blown away by the high-tech culture here. It was like something that I felt that I'm in a dream place where I want to be. And that's where my journey started. A lot of hurdles in the beginning, but finally I'm here.
That's very interesting. And along the way, you also have been a marketer. You also have founded an organization. So how did this journey unfold?
So when I moved to Israel, I was doing arbitrage. I was in stock market, being a stock market analyst, a successful one. I accepted a job in Israel, which was my first job in Israel as a cleaner and housekeeping manager, because I wanted to do something. I didn't want to sit idle. Parallelly doing that, I used my tech skills to do some freelancing for free. What it allowed me is to get contacts, connections. Because my father taught me one thing, that if you want to be successful in some areas, or let's say you are new in market and you want to put your feet there, you have to offer something valuable in return. Like provide value first, automatically clients will come. So that's basically what I followed. I gave my free services for website building, digital marketing services, and so on. And the word of mouth, the best kind of marketing helped me get my first job in Israel. I started to get traction. I grew in the company. I worked with multiple startups. And then I saw that digital side was booming. So I really wanted to be in the digital side. So I chose marketing as my career in Israel full time. Parallelly, I founded a company in Mumbai. What does that company do is to help Israeli outsource marketing services. So, for example, the cost of marketing services in Israel is super high. So what we did is to have clients from US, Israel, Ireland, UK do these services with us in Mumbai. So basically outsourcing their marketing savvy works. And this is how I founded my company.
Okay, so that's the genesis of Pratik's entrepreneurial route.
Yes, I can say that.
And you are also a LinkedIn influencer. So with all of this, starting your career way back, I remember reading something about you where you started selling pickles and firecrackers to dabbling in stock markets, to be a CEO, entrepreneur. What are some of the life lessons that you have learned along the way?
So it's a really emotional story because I used to see my father working very, very hard. So I was like 4 or 5 something, and my father's father and my uncle, they were in the same business of selling spices, okay, spices, pickles and stuff. And I used to see my father, putting like bags of 25 kilo, 30 kilo on the cycle and going through delivering all of pickles and spices to other the stores around our area. So I saw them like working hard, and from childhood, because I belong to Gujarati community, because Gujaratis are very like well known, popular for being into business from very early age, and that's the kind of mindset we had since childhood. So what inspired me was my father, and I think I was in 7th or 8th grade the first time I took my own cycle and I went to sell small boxes of pickles to the stores nearby me. Although the first 3 4 days didn't actually sell anything because everyone was like making fun of me. But eventually I showed up 5 days, 6 days, 7 days on the same store, and eventually that person felt pity on me. I don't know what he bought from me. So the lesson I learned was like, never give up, and consistency. You need to show up every day, and no matter if you succeed that day or not, but if you show up, that's where you get success from, because other people will give up along the way, and the leverage you can have is being consistent and showing up.
Oh, that's a great message. Consistency, showing up, and persistent as well. So you had pretty early life lessons of what it takes to succeed as an entrepreneur.
Exactly. And I didn't stop there, actually. I also remember during Diwali festivals or Rakhi festivals, I used to ask my father to go and buy stuff from me from wholesale markets. Like I used to buy firecrackers and Rakhi, and then I used to sell it. I used to have like carom board next to my colony. I used to put all of the stuff on my carom board and sell it there, basically, to sponsor my clothes for the festivals.
Interesting. So from those humble beginnings, humble start to being in the innovation capital of the world, let's kind of change track here and share with me and my listeners what makes Israel the center of the startup communities, the center of innovation culture.
What I see here myself, the government itself, or the mentality of the people here is to innovate. They think of out of the box. They're very, very creative person. And the thing which also connects me a lot, which is persistence. They have in their blood, never give up attitude, which is something that makes them very, very special. Each and every one I met in Israel, like the entrepreneurs, they are something like which check marks all of the boxes, which is persistent, consistent, innovative. And like, in terms of hard work, you can't beat them, like, completely insane. Also, something fun that makes them different is they don't just work hard. The culture here is work hard and play harder. So they make sure, like, 5 days a week, they will work super, super hard. But Friday and Saturday, they take completely day off. Like, they spend time with their family to recharge themselves. They will go out with friends, family. They have Shabbat dinner together with family. That helps them recharge. And Sunday, they will be back with really high energy.
That's interesting. And what, according to you, are some of those traits that drives these qualities of being the startup capital?
Something related to the surrounding of Israel that led Israel being into an digital economy, because Israel doesn't have the natural resources that other Middle Eastern countries have. So economy has to survive on something else. And I think that's something Israeli government or Israeli older generation recognized very early. And so they focused on building nation which is based on technology and not natural resources.
Okay. So it's more coming out of necessity, compensating for lack of resources is what has driven an innovation mindset.
Exactly.
And is there things that you see which is different, say in the schooling system or in the college system, that drives this kind of a mentality?
The culture here is different. The cultural background is similar to Indians. They are more also family oriented. And in terms of education system, I would say what I felt is my education system, where I studied also, I didn't feel that I was getting the skills I needed. If I was not self-motivated enough to learn on my own, I won't be anywhere. That's how the reality was. And I truly believe that the education system here is quite different. They really invest in skill development. Also, there are schools that promote a lot of other activities, not just education or learning something, but extracurricular activities. They are really more focused on that.
Interesting. So, Pratik, we'll check along to the next section in our conversation. This is a new section. I call this as the power of three round. So I'll ask you questions where each question accompanies with three things that you got to tell according to that question. So are you ready for this section?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Pratik, three things that is a must do in Israel.
Nightlife, beach, and exploring the tech culture.
Wonderful. Three LinkedIn hacks that you can share with our listeners.
There is no hack. Only hack is to be consistent. If you're not coming to LinkedIn every day, posting, sharing, or commenting on other people's posts, you won't be successful. This is what I feel. And that's what helped me. If you see my profile, I grew from 1,000 followers to 36,000 followers with over 10 million views in matter of 500 days. But it's almost 1.5 years now. So only thing that helped me is showing up every day. That's exactly rule I followed from my first business to anything I do. So this is something definitely helps.
So there is no hacks. Consistency is the name of the game.
That's a rule for everything you do in life. If you're not consistent, then people won't trust you.
Sure. So three interesting startups to watch out for from Israel, obviously.
I'm working right now for Zesty. Zesty is a cloud cost optimization platform. So definitely it's in hyper growth stage. We are doubling our revenues every quarter, not every year. So it's a crazy growth. So definitely you should watch out. There are multiple other startups who went public recently, which I posted something yesterday. WalkMe, Monday. Then we have Taboola. There are other startups which went public recently. So definitely do watch out this space. Similar Web. It's also a good one. There are other cyber security products. Cybersecurity is the core of Israel. So there are other cybersecurity products as well. And also there's something coming up from my end. I'm soon going to come up with a new startup. I'm currently working on that. It might be launched soon.
Wow, nice. Congratulations. Any sneak preview for our listeners?
Something to watch out. Follow me on LinkedIn. I'll soon share something with you.
Given the choice of anyone in the world, who are the three people you would want to have dinner with?
Shrikant, number one is you. Because you really took time to interview me, and I really appreciate your dedication and to inspire others. So definitely, I'd love to have dinner with you. The second one, I will have to have dinner with Bill Gates, because he was my number one inspiration when I was growing up. So he inspired me a lot. And the third one is my family. I wish, because I'm away from them, so every day I miss them here. So having dinner with family, they are the number one inspiration all of my life. So definitely I wish to live with them together anytime in the future and eat dinner with them.
Wonderful. So that brings us end of the Power of Three round, Pratik. Thank you so much for being a sport and participating in this. So moving on, you are also a LinkedIn influencer, recognized LinkedIn influencer. And recently you have taken up this challenge of 1,000 days challenge. Tell us a bit more about it and what's the learning out of this particular challenge that you have had?
So I remember I think 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, something like that. I saw LinkedIn was starting to getting traction. People started to recognize the value of LinkedIn. Before that, LinkedIn was there, but it was just used for applying for jobs and not for the content itself. Slowly, LinkedIn was started to becoming like a content platform, and I realized its value from my companies I worked at. And then I thought to apply the same strategy that I did for every business I had. Like, if you want to be successful, like being consistent, as I mentioned. So I said, I need to put myself in a commitment to the world that I will show up every single day for 1,000 days, no matter what, until I die. So that was like a strong commitment that I brought to the table, so people can trust me. Eventually, that really turned out to be an amazing campaign from my side. I felt beginnings were difficult. I just got one like from my first post. It was my wife, and nobody liked it. Although beginnings were smaller, but eventually it grew significantly. I learned along the way because, when you start something, you commit to posting on LinkedIn, you don't see much engagement, much likes, much comments. You give up in a few days, or maybe you'll give up in 100 days. After 3 months, you will give up eventually. But what happened is I kept on changing my content style. I was posting on social media before, marketing. Then I did some spiritual posts, inspirational posts. Nothing kind of worked well. It was okay. But recently, I would say a few months ago, I started to post about technology, startups, Israel, India-Israel relationship, and I started to get traction. People loved my content. 1 or 2 posts got over 1.5 million views, which was a success. So I got success almost after 450 days.
Way over a year.
Way over a year. So that's the amount of time you need to give to something that you love. Think about Facebook, Google, they launched Facebook was launched in 2008 or 2004 something. Took them so much time to be successful. There are any company in the world, Amazon also, they started early 2000 something, and now after 2010, 15, we started to recognize him. So it takes years to become a big brand. It's not overnight. And that's why I thought 3 years is minimum that I need to give to LinkedIn in order for me to become an influencer.
3 years on your way to become an LinkedIn influencer.
Yes. I think I'm already making a good impact and touching the lives of people who care about technology, Israel, innovation, startups. That's where I want to focus on.
Wonderful. So Pratik, if there is a billboard message out there, if there's a billboard and if you have to put a message onto that billboard, what's Pratik's billboard message going to look like?
The one thing that made me successful is exceeding expectations. I think that's the power word. Excel at whatever you do. And if you don't exceed the expectation of your user, your customer, your parents, your partners, or anything in life, you are going to be in a mediocre level. If you want to be something that stands out and loved and create the word of mouth, then you have to go beyond their expectation. And that's the thumb rule, I think.
Go beyond. That's a message. Wonderful. So Pratik, you did mention about what makes Israel stand out in terms of innovation and how the schooling and the college education is different. What companies comes to your mind and puts you in awe when you kind of look at these companies and what they're trying to do in the current scenario?
Sure. I think Israel is not just creating innovation these days. I think it's more than innovation. It's more of a revolution. When we talk about the revolution, I see that one industry is going into revolution stage right now, which is automobile industry. And there are 2 good companies which are doing this innovation and revolution. One is Mobileye, and the second one is Store. Now, I'll come to StoreDot first. StoreDot is a technology which recharges the battery in 5 minutes. That's an extreme fast charging technology which has never achieved. It was kind of impossible in the past, and they kind of achieved that. So imagine like you are going into the petrol station and you fill out your car with petrol or gas. It takes 5 minutes. Equal amount of time will take to recharge your battery for automobile. So it's going to be crazy. And one more technology is Mobileye. So what they do is it's a life-saving technology. It's been created 2 decades ago, now used in over 60 million vehicles across the globe. And it's been recently purchased by Intel. So this is something that you should watch out for.
Very interesting. So we'll definitely have the links for both of these companies in the show notes. Thank you for sharing that. So Pratik, this show is all about inspiration, creating ripples of inspiration. You are an young marketer, an entrepreneur. What's your message for all the listeners out here? What's your Inspire Someone Today message?
So when I was when I was 21, 22, I was trying to learn the digital side. There were not a lot of resources available online like we have today. So this is the era of internet. In the era of internet, learning anything is possible. You don't need a degree to be successful. You just need a passion, determination, and consistency to achieve anything you want.
Pratik, thank you so much for joining us today from Tel Aviv and sharing your life story, sharing your successes and the struggles behind those successes. Thank you for listening into today's edition of Inspire Someone Today. It's been a privilege to bring in these conversations. If you like this episode and have any feedback or comments, do mail me at inspiresomeonetodaypodcast@gmail.com. Inspiring someone is like creating ripples around us. If you like what to listen, feel free to share them and let's create ripples of inspiration. Do not forget to follow me on my Instagram handle @InspireSomeoneTodayPodcast for all the latest updates. This is Srikanth, your host, signing off, and until next time, keep inspiring.